Welcome to Rebuilding Blackburn Rovers Season 3 out of 5. By the end of Season 5, we need to have won the Premier League. At the moment, we're on track. We finished 7th last season and we've qualified for the Europa Conference League this season. We also got to an FA Cup final, although we lost to Tottenham. But the aim of this season, can we finish in the top 5, maybe get a Champions League spot? Welcome folks, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you are new around here and this is the first of the Rebuilding Blackburn Rovers episodes that you've watched, there is a playlist on the channel which gives you episodes 1 and 2 on there, or seasons 1 and 2 I think they're called. But let me just quickly bring you up to scratch. Obviously in season 1 we were in the Championship, we got promoted from the Championship by winning it, and last season we finished 7th in the Premier League, qualifying for the Europa Conference League. And we also got to the FA Cup final, as I said in the intro, losing to Tottenham. Now, what I'll do first of all is I'll show you transfers in and out that we've made, and we'll have a look at how the pre-season friendly and all that has gone along. As you can see here on the wage budget, we are slightly overspent. We're £11,000 overspent on the wage budget. Obviously, the transfer window doesn't close for another couple of weeks, so there's an opportunity for us to be able to move a player or two out. What it does mean as well is obviously we've got a transfer budget. We started off with a transfer budget of 90 million, but our wage budget at the time was about 900,000. So I moved some of the transfer budget into the wage budget. I've been doing that on and off throughout the pre-season, and we're now at the stage where we were. I'm going to have a look now, where they will not let us move any more transfer budget into the wage budget. If we was allowed to move some, we'd be fine on the wage budget, but it is what it is. We also do have 60 million in the bank as well, so financial status is rich. Everything at the club in terms of finances is going in a wonderful, wonderful direction. In terms of dynamics, team cohesion is good, club atmosphere is excellent, managerial support is very good. Let's have a look at the transfers then, because that's what you're really here for, let's be honest. And at the end of so this is obviously last season's one. At the end of last season, we did sign Nikola Kavlina from Lokomotiva for 4 million. He's our new goalkeeper, basically. Goalkeeper that we had was 2.5 stars. Nikola Kavlina is 4 stars, so it's a massive upgrade on our goalkeeping situation. And as you can see from his attributes, with the exception of free kick taking, which I don't think is that important for a goalkeeper, everything is going in a really good positive direction. He's also 6'4", so he's a really good height. He's fairly ambitious in terms of his personality, and luckily he's described as a goalkeeper, so that is pretty decent. And as you see there, shot stopping is probably his best attribute. Then, so that was Kavlina for 4 million. In terms of players that went out, we did let a few people go out on loan. Leo Duru went out on loan. Junior Sangu, Charlie Weston went out on loan as well. We sold Thomas Bloxham to Bournemouth for 575,000, rising to 725,000. He's out of contract at the end of this season, so it just seemed like a no-brainer to just let him go. In terms of the rest of the transfers we've done, and as you can see, we have done some. We'll do the outs first. Dylan Markandi left for Celtic on a free transfer at the end of his contract. Callum Britton was the only big money transfer we got out. Callum Britton went to Calgary for 11.75 million. Ben Files went on loan to Stockport. Leopold Wallstead, who was their third choice goalkeeper, went to Udinese for 170,000. And then we got a few more loan players here. Most notably Willie Kambwala, who we got in from Manchester United last year. He has got a bit of potential. I don't think he's going to be playing all that regularly for us. He was how much did he cost us? Free transfer. I thought he was a free transfer. So he's not really cost us much money, but he's gone out on loan to Stockport, get a bit of football. Then we get to the players that we come in, and I was going to say this is a big one. It's the second big one. Lorenzo Parola. Ignore that. That will change. That will get better. All these down arrows. I'm not particularly happy with that. But he's 4-star current ability, 4.5-star potential. 23-year-old Italian. He played for Salernitana in Italy, and he's played for Brianza, and he started his career at Inter Milan. Did make one league appearance for Inter Milan. He's come in. He's a really good, solid central defender. He's strong. He's got reasonable pace about him. He's a great tackler. He's got decent marking, passing, heading. 6'1". He just really does fit what we want really well. I'm really happy with having him in the squad. If we look at his contract, he's got a whole host of bonuses, and he has got a minimum fee release clause of 91 million for clubs in the Champions League. Quite honestly, if someone wants to pay me 91 million for him, they can have him. I'll even pack his bags for him. He will reach £125,000 a week after 5 international appearances. He's on 110,000 at the moment. That's been the biggest shock of all, is some of the wages we've been giving out. Then we brought in Callum Wilson on a free transfer. Now, I just thought I wanted a striker. He's 3.5 stars. He's obviously at the end of his career. He's 33 years old, turns 34 in February. But he's really good at finishing. He's a great penalty taker. He works hard. He's good off the ball. Great composure. If you've ever played Football Manager, he is really good at Football Manager. He's not done a great deal for Newcastle in the last couple of years, but I think he could be a secretly really good addition for 1, maybe 2 seasons. Then we brought in Jack Hinchelwood for 37 million, raising to 54 million from Brighton. 2.5-star current ability is all he's got for, like I say, for his current ability, but he is 5-star potential, and he looks really good as well. He can play that ball-winning midfielder role here. He can play so many different positions as well. He could be a real utility player for us. Only 20 years old. Looking at his contract, he's on £49,000 a week at the moment. He does have a minimum fee release clause of 49 million, and he will get up to £88,000 well before the end of this season, provided he doesn't get injuries. But I'm really excited about Jack Hinchelwood. I think he's had a pretty decent pre-season as well, alongside James Garner. He's settling in well, and yeah, I'm really excited by him. Brandon Williams was a backup option, 2.3 million. We brought him in from Fiorentina. Because we sold Callum Britton for 12 million, we needed someone that can do the right and left fullback positions, and basically it means that we can buy him and still would have made about 9 million on Callum Britton as well. So that seemed like a no-brainer again. Noni Madueke has come in from Chelsea. He's a pretty expensive loan option, but when you look at him, he looks a good player. He's got the potential to be 4.5 stars, 23 years old. Like I say, he's on loan for the season from Chelsea, and I just think, we do have an optional future fee of 48 million. There's no, if he's played this amount of games or anything like that, it's just an optional future fee. If he's a roaring success with us and doing really well, we can buy him. If we don't want to or can't afford him, we just send him back. So again, seems like a bit of a no-brainer. And yeah, potential £3 million loan fee. I just think having him here for the season, 3 million, adds massive depth to our attacking options as well. Mateus Moreno is the most recent one. He arrived 3 days ago from Belgrano for £5.5 million, his minimum fee release clause. He's another centre-back, 3 stars current ability with 4-star potential. He basically just gives us depth in defence, 6'4". He makes really good decisions. He jumps really well and he heads really well. So I'm expecting to see him score goals from corners. And if we have a look at our tactic, it's the same tactic as last season, the 4-2-3-1. But obviously there's Cavallina in goal. Archie Brown, who was sensational for us at left back, no need to replace him. He stays there alongside Brian Aguirre on the right. Parola and Moreno, completely new central defensive partnership. They need to get to know each other really quickly. Garner has Hinchelwood as his partner there. Then we've got Dolan with Madueke out wide, Smodic and Wilson. I think that looks a really good team. And even when you look at it by star rating as well, it looks decent. And you look at our bench, Brandon Williams, more than adequate replacement for left or right. Hayden Carter is mainly a centre-back cover, but can do the right-hand side. Joe Rankin-Costello can do the midfield options, also the right-hand side of there. Lewis Travis is the backup to Jack Hinchelwood as a ball-winning midfielder. Ryan Hedges can play left or right of the attacking midfield options. Ben Rahu, we know from him, can play anywhere across that attacking midfield 3. Harry Leonard is the guy that we want Harry Leonard to learn from Callum Wilson, basically. Harry Pickering as a really good central left-sided option for defence. we've got really good options there. When we look down here, the likes of Conor O'Riordan, Scott Wharton, if anyone wants them, I'm happy for them to go, loan or for sale. And maybe Tronstad might go as well, Tronstad or Garrett. I'd rather Tronstad, but either or. So, but other than that, yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm probably not going to be bringing anybody else in because we haven't got the wage budget for it. But yeah, between now and the end of the transfer window, I will be trying to offload Conor Reardon, who we know that he's wanted on loan anyway. So we can just do that. It doesn't really matter if anyone's paying for him. I'm not really worried about the wage side of things. And Scott Wharton again as well, we can offer him via the transfer room on loan. I don't think anyone's going to want to buy them, but if we're giving them away for free on loan, they might want to take them. If we have a look at the competitions and the season preview, not that I pay too much attention to the season preview, we are expected to just avoid relegation. We was expected to get relegated last season. Like I say, we finished 7th. We are in the Europa Conference League. We'll get to that now when we have a look at our schedule. So we start the season against Manchester United, and we then, our next league game is against Manchester City. It's a bit of a baptism of fire for the league. Fully expect to lose both of them games, if I'm being honest. But you never know. We've been drawn against Slovako in the UEFA Europa Conference League playoff 4th qualifying round thing. It's got a long title to it. But yeah, we've been drawn against them in there. And I think if we win that game, which I fully expect us to, but if we win that game, we then go into the group stage of the Europa Conference League. I'm kind of looking at the Conference League thinking we could probably have a bit of a run in that. I'd kind of be looking at wanting to get to the quarterfinals because of when you look at the type of teams that are in it, I don't think that's unfair to expect us to progress, to be quite honest. After that, we've got Norwich, Aston Villa, West Ham, Newcastle, Leeds in the league. The big games are pretty much well split. We then have Arsenal and Liverpool together, but then we have Fulham, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Brentford, Brighton, Palace. Then we get to probably the most difficult part of the season where we have Tottenham, forget Everton, then we have Chelsea, Man City and Manchester United with an FA Cup 3rd round game in between that as well. The good thing about the Europa Conference League games is that by having these two sandwiched between the Man United and Man City games means if we do lose to Man United and Man City, hopefully then a win in that game will just bump up the morale a little bit. In terms of pre-season, it's been a really good pre-season. We've won every game we've played. There's been some games there you'd expect us to win, you know, the likes of Hartlepool, for example. But people have been getting on the score sheets. You know, Harry Leonard's been on the score sheet, Jack Hinshelwood, Sammy Smodics, Callum Wilson, James Garner, Ben Rahu. You know, players that we need to get goals in have got goals. Nonu Madueke has just got one most recently as well. So that pretty much brings us up to speed on where we are. The next time you see me will be in part 2, which will just be after the transition, and that will be just before we play Manchester City here in the Premier League. I'll give you an update on how the season's gone so far. I'll also bring you up to speed on any ins and outs transfer-wise that we may have made between now and the end of the summer transfer window, and just a general update. And then obviously part 3 will be the end of season review and showing you how we've got on and what our plans are for next season. But like I said in the intro, we want to get top 5 in the Premier League. Bearing in mind after this episode there's 2 more to go, and if we're going to win the Premier League we need to be making strides towards winning it. So want to be top 5, have a good run in the Conference League, get to a cup final, maybe even win a cup. That would be quite handy as well. And yeah, I will see you on the other side of this transition for part 2. Well, there you go. We are 5th at the halfway point in the season. Well, just over halfway if you're Liverpool and Arsenal and a couple of other teams. But yeah, 5th place, won 11, drawn 3, lost 5. We've got a goal difference of +7. If we have a look at the actual table itself, and as you see, 19 games in, we've scored 34, we've conceded 27. We do concede a lot of goals. I mean, a lot of our games are very entertaining if you're a neutral, I suppose. When you consider the best defensive team in the league is Chelsea and Manchester City with 15 goals conceded each, we are a long way from being efficient defensively, despite my summer signings. If we have a look at the Premier League as well, I just want to point out Callum Wilson, who we got in on a free transfer in the summer, probably just for this season. He's he's joint second. He's got the same amount of goals as Erling Haaland. I mean, I think that qualifies as a pretty good deal for Callum Wilson, that we got a free transfer that's just as good, well, scored the same amount of goals at the halfway point as Erling Haaland. And he's only one behind Mo Salah as well, and he's ahead of anybody else. Right, if we have a look at the schedule, and there we go, that's where we started off with Manchester United in the first game, Man City in the second game. I did say we're probably going to lose both of those, and we did in some style. We lost 4-2 to Manchester United at home, and then we went to the Etihad and got absolutely spanked 5-0. We did have the Europa Conference League playoff, whatever, fourth qualifying game against Slovakia, and we won the first game away 3-0. The second game we won 5-0. That was a very comfortable qualifying game, but we get more to that in a moment. I think what we do is we just take off all of these and just add the competitions as we want them. So we start with the Premier League. After Man City, we then played Norwich, got a 2-0 win, then a 1-0 win against Aston Villa. By this point, Callum Wilson had 3 goals in 4 games. Then we played West Ham and won 3-1. Callum Wilson getting on the score sheet again. Noni Madueke getting his second goal of the season. He did also score against Manchester United as well. He's a loanee from Chelsea, of course. Then we played Newcastle and drew 1-1. We actually played them twice because we played them in the Carabao Cup third round just before this, also at St James's Park. And we drew, I think it was 0-0, and then we went out on penalties. Then in the league, we had Leeds and won 3-0. Madueke with a couple there. Ben Rahu getting on the score sheet. Then we played Wolves and won 3-1. Mateus Moreno as centre-back. Noni Madueke, Yassine Ben Rahu from the penalty spot. Then we played Arsenal, and this was one of the games I was sitting there thinking, okay, we're going to get absolutely trounced again. We actually beat Arsenal 2-1. Callum Wilson and Therese Dolan getting on the score sheet in that game. And then we played Liverpool and we beat them 3-2. And this is what I mean about how some of the games are quite eventful. Callum Wilson, Therese Dolan, Noni Madueke getting on the score sheet there. Then we played Fulham and won 3-2. Sammy Smodics, Noni Madueke and Callum Wilson on the score sheets there. Then after beating Fulham and Arsenal, we've then gone and randomly just lost against Bournemouth away from home 2-0. Obviously not a particularly good performance. Then we played rock bottom of the table Sheffield United and beat them 3-1. Archie Brown, Callum Wilson and Noni Madueke on the score sheet. From this moment here where we lost the game against Bournemouth, our form dropped considerably at this point because we then went and drew 1-1 with Brentford. Callum Wilson on the score sheet in that game as well. We then went and beat Brighton 3-1. Sammy Smodics, Noni Madueke and Callum Wilson all in the first half getting us the goals in there. Then we drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace, who, again, they're near the relegation zone. Then we lost 2-0 against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, kind of expected. Then we beat Everton 2-0, Sammy Smodics and Noni Madueke getting on the score sheet for us there. And then a 3-2 defeat to Chelsea, kind of to be expected. I think Chelsea are top of the table, or they're around the top. And we've now got Man City and Man United to come with an FA Cup game against East Lancashire rivals Burnley, sandwiched in the middle of that. If we now take out the Premier League, we'll put in the Carabao Cup. There's not really much point, but yeah, 0-0, and then we lost on penalties. Callum Wilson did actually miss one of them penalties. Now, as far as Europe's concerned, in the Europa Conference League, this has been a doddle. I mean, it gets to a stage you kind of think this is a bit of a waste of time, this competition, really, because we had Slovakia in that qualifying round, 8-0 aggregate win there. Then we got given the email which tells us who we're going to be facing. Now, quite interesting, in the Champions League, you play 8 games. In the Europa Conference League, you only play 6 games. I don't know how many it is in the Europa League, but yeah, in the Conference League, it's just 6 games. We got drawn with Aberdeen, Dynamo Kiev, Brondby if, Dynamo, Hawksend and Flora. Now, I know Aberdeen, I know Dynamo Kiev, I know Brondby are Dynamo. But then Hawksend, I had no idea who they were. They're 12th in the Norwegian Premier Division. If we click on it, I don't even know if it's going to show us today. Oh, there you go. I mean, they're 12th. There's only 16 teams in this league and they're 12th. So they're clearly not particularly very good. And then we played Flora, who are an Estonian team. It don't even tell us what the league's called, or we can't click on a table or anything like that. We just have to assume that they're an okay team in Estonia. And from what I know of Estonian football, it's not the greatest quality. So, yeah, 3-2 win against Aberdeen, a 3-1 win against Dynamo Kiev. We did play pretty much fully rotated teams in all of these games. So against Aberdeen, we was going with Ainsley Pears, their backup goalkeeper, as our cup goalkeeper. Brandon Williams, we had a first choice central defensive pair of Parola and Moreno, because at this point, because they're new to each other, I wanted to get them playing together so they get to know each other. Archie Brown, Hinshelwood, Garner, Modoaki, Sammy Smodics, Yassine Benrahu and Harry Leonard. So really, when you look at this, Ainsley Pears, Brandon Williams, and then probably Benrahu and Leonard are the backup options. So we had quite a strong team against Aberdeen, and probably a good job we did. Then we played Dynamo Kiev, and we went more fully rotation this one. We had Pears again in goal. Brandon Williams played again at right back. Hayden Carter came in for Moreno in the centre of defence. Harry Pickering played in place of Archie Brown at left back. Lewis Travis, who got injured again, he's regularly injured, or either that or suspended. Joe Rankin Costello was his partner in midfield. Ryan Hedges, Ben Rahu and Telalovic were the attacking three, with Harry Leonard up front getting a couple of goals, just like he got a goal in the previous game. And then we played Brøndby, very similar team in that game, with the exception of Ainsley Pearce got injured, so he missed the next couple. He broke his hand, he's out for 5 weeks. But again, a pretty fully rotated side in that one against Brøndby. Ben Rahu with 2, Harry Leonard, Telalovic, Tori Stolen and Sammy Smodics also getting on the score sheet in that one. Then we played Dynamo. Obviously, Cavallina was in goal because of Pears' injury. But we kind of seem to have a set Europa League team, or Europa Conference League team, I should say. The only time it differs is sometimes Archie Brown plays and Harry Pickering partners Hayden Carter, or Parola, I think his name is, the other guy in the centre of defence. He'll play and Pickering will play instead of Archie Brown. It's just we haven't got enough depth to be able to fully rotate our defence unless we go into the youth team, which is what we did against Flora, and I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, against Dynamo, goals from Telalovic, Leonard, Ben Rahu and Joe Rankin Costello. Then Hogsland, I mean, that, to be fair to them, actually put up a bit of a better fight than I thought. It was actually this game we played the youngster. We played Max Davis, 18-year-old centre-back, can play left-back, 2.5 to 3.5 star potential. He's probably never going to be anything much for us, but at this point, we'd already basically qualified, and I underestimated Hogsland a little bit maybe. Harry Pickering got on the score sheet in that game. Then we played Flora, back to the usual kind of team. Parola was in as Pickering was playing for Archie Brown. We won 3-1, 2 goals from Ben Rahu, 1 from Callum Wilson. And that gets us through to the round of 16. We don't know who we play yet. The draw will take place shortly. But yeah, in terms of the competition, I mean, Harry Leonard is second for goals scored along with Sammy Smodics. Both of them have 8 goals each. And Sammy Smodics is joint second for player of the match. That's what the table looked like. We finished top, 6 games played, 6 wins. When you look at this table, the only teams really that you'd probably think will probably maybe lose to is Atletico Madrid for certain, because they are Atletico Madrid. Fiorentina, although they are 8th in Serie A, so they're not massively impressive. Eintracht Frankfurt, they're 15th in the Bundesliga this season. That's pretty much around it. You know, maybe the likes of Fenerbahce, Dynamo Kiev could be a bit of an issue, but we took care of them quite easily. Hibernian, obviously, you have to consider them. They're 4th in the Cinch Premiership. But, you know, I just don't think they're that much of a threat. I actually think if the draw is kind to us, we've got a pretty decent chance of winning this Europa Conference League. I'm not going to lie. It really does look a decent competition to try and win. And, you know, the further we go in the competition as well, the more we will field a more first choice looking side. But yeah, so this is what the Premier League, or the schedule look like? Like, as you can see here, beginning of October to mid-November, up to the international break, we had a really good run of games. We'd done really well in the Premier League. It just kind of fell away a little bit around here. We do have one issue with James Garner, because he has got a minimum fee release clause in his contract of 50 million, and there's clubs interested in him. I think Man United one of them. There's a couple of Saudi Arabian clubs. I think there's 4 in total. I can't remember exactly who they are. Where is it? Well, now it's just saying Man United are 2 Saudi Arabian clubs, but there was another Premier League club, Arsenal, Liverpool, it's someone like that, but they've obviously pulled out now. And I just looked at that and thought, I don't really want to lose him for 50 million, because I think he's worth more than that. So I went to offer him a new contract. His agent wanted astronomical amounts of money. I mean, to put it into perspective, our highest earner is Lorenzo Parola on £110,000 a week. And James Garner wanted £115,000 a week to begin with, and for that to rise to £130,000 a week if he made 5 international appearances, or once he made 5 international appearances. He also wanted a match highest earner clause in his contract, which at the moment there's no danger that anyone's going to match what he wanted. But then when you add on the fact that he wanted like £6 million signing on fee, his agent wanted about £1.5 million. Then there was all the appearance fees and if he gets this amount of assists in the season and everything. It was just an astronomical contract. The board wouldn't allow me to offer that amount, so I tried reducing it, tried taking out the yearly wage rides and the sell-on fees and all this sort of stuff, and he just wasn't having it. He declined or his agent declined the contract on his behalf. He then came to me saying, I want a new contract. So I said, okay, I'll give you a new contract. When we gave him the new contract, again, he was wanting stupid amounts of money. Talks broke down. He then got unhappy with me because we didn't give him the new contract. Then the next day he's come back to me and saying, actually, there's clubs interested in me, so now I don't want a new contract. So there is every possibility during this transfer window that we could be losing James Garner, and that would be a huge loss because he's easily our best player. And if he goes, I don't know how we're replacing him. I have also gone to the board. If we have a look at the finances, we've got 34 million in the bank. We are overspent on the transfer budget by 10,000. I'll tell you that story in a moment as well. We have 20 million left in the transfer budget. It was 32 million, but we had to pay 10 million or 11 million for James Garner, becoming a bit of a pain because he played in 50 games for us. But we have been able to up this. This was, when we first arrived at Blackburn, it was 10% of the transfer revenues made available. We asked for more, they upped it to 25. We asked for more again very recently. They've now upped it to 40%. So at least if he goes for that 50 million, we will get about 20 million or whatever for that transfer. Now, we did get the wage budget under control because if we go to transfers and transfer history, we had Scott Wharton has gone out on loan to Wolves, and if we look at his contract, they're paying £10,000 a week. We was 10,000 over at the point, so that just about brought us below. There is an optional future fee of 15 million on there, but considering he's barely playing for them, I very much doubt they're going to enforce that. And we've also having Conor O'Riordan and Jared Harlock going out on loan with little fees coming in and whatever, and wages being paid. All of that combined with Scott Wharton's just brought the transfer budget below the 1,237 that we're allowed. But then we've had players that wanted new contracts. I can't even remember who it is now that wanted a new contract, but we've recently offered a new contract to somebody. I can't even find who it is. Oh, it's Sammy Smodics. There you go. He was on 30,000. He then wanted 41,000 was the lowest we could get him to. So that's then taken us back over again. And yeah, it's just, I'm not worried about it. It's only 10,000 over the wage budget, but we was only just under it when Sammy Smodics wanted his new contract. So that's all of that kind of stuff. The next thing I need to bring you up to speed on is that we had a job offer from Newcastle United. I'm going to put the email on screen round about now. And obviously this is a rebuilding Blackburn Rovers save, so I'm not got any interest in going to any other club. So I declined the interview. But it just goes to show we must be doing something right if we're getting job offers from Newcastle United. I was a little bit curious as well as to, if I got the job, what the transfer budget would have been for a club like Newcastle with their oil-rich owners and all this sort of stuff. But it wasn't to be. We obviously, like I say, declined it, and it didn't happen. The next thing I need to show you actually is if we go to the Dev Centre, the youth candidates, we've had our preview for our youth intake, and it does say excellent intake. This is a terrific group of players coming through and has the potential to be a real golden generation for the club. As I said before, we've heard all that before, and it turns out to be a rubbish youth intake, but it could be something special. We've got A for defensive midfielders. There's one of our defensive midfielders has the potential to go far. We have A for attacking midfielders and A for wing backs. There are 2 attacking midfielders we should keep a very close eye on. There's a wing back who's rated very highly. To be fair, if we get a 4.5, 5-star rated wing back, attacking midfielder and defensive midfielder out of this, then I'll be delighted with that. I really will be. We have also gone to the board and asked them to improve our training facilities, which at the moment are excellent training facilities. They have agreed to improve them, and the works will be ready towards the end of January. I also asked for the youth facilities and the youth level to be increased. The youth facilities at the moment is great youth facilities. They said no to improving that. But then with the youth level, they said they were going to improve the youth facilities so that they could raise the youth level. So even though they said no to that, they have actually said yes. So when we come back for the end of season review, hopefully that could actually say state-of-the-art training facilities. That could say excellent youth facilities, and that could be a number 1. And that would be massive. And it would also show that we're progressing the club as well. I would like it if we could get a stadium sponsor as well. That would be absolutely incredible. Now, having state-of-the-art training facilities and excellent youth facilities, if that's what it goes up to, and at number 1 for youth level, that will help attracting the kind of players and the youth players that we want, especially when we go to the inbox. And we had an email come through that I didn't take a screenshot of because it was about having a takeover. And like I said to you before, on this series and other series that I've done as well, you get at least 1, if not 2 or 3 emails a year or a season saying that there's a potential takeover going on, then nothing comes of it. So I didn't bother taking a screenshot of it or anything. But then we had this one that's come through very recently. This come through on the 31st of September, so yesterday in game. The board have placed an embargo upon transfers as a result of the rumours regarding the possible takeover. These restrictions will remain in place until the outcome of any takeover has been resolved. Now, again, that I wasn't overly excited about because I've seen that before, and then again it's come to nothing. But then we got this come through at the same time. It was 8 minutes later in game. Simovic targets Blackburn takeover. Takeover rumours at Ewood Park gathered fresh momentum this week, with beaten English FA Cup finalists Blackburn Rovers considering a formal proposal to purchase a controlling stake in the club, according to Sporting Life. The deal, thought to be worth around 352 million, has been tabled by Serbian business director Dragan Simovic. Should the deal go through, it is rumoured that Dragan Simovic will look to float the club on the stock exchange, thereby generating potentially lucrative funds for the club. The Blackburn Rovers board have placed an embargo upon transfers, blah, 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 blah. These restrictions will take place until it's been resolved. Now, this bit up here where it says we are considering a formal proposal, that's, we, the club, are considering it. So there must have been a formal proposal put in. So if the owners want to sell a controlling stake in the club, then it will happen. Now, at the moment, nothing has happened since then. So I've got no other news for you. I can't give you that news until the end of the episode, or until we get to part 3. But that is quite exciting because we're at the end of this season, we're going to go into season 4, and there will just be season 4 and season 5 left. We could end up having lucrative funds to try and drive our way forward towards getting that Premier League finish. Now, what I will say is, going back to the Premier League, we are 5th, but we have actually been in some pretty decent positions this season. If we have a look at ourselves, Obviously, we crashed down here after the first part of it. But at one point, we were first for like one game week. But then we've hovered between third and second and third, and then we dropped down to sixth, then up to fourth, now we're down to fifth. We've been in and around it. And when you actually look at the table itself, we're on 36 points. Man City are on 40. Man City, not that long ago, were in fifth themselves, or fourth, I think it was. But we're only 4 points off the top. So it's very congested up here. I mean, 7 points separate first from eighth. So if we can replicate the kind of form that we had in the first half of the season in the second half, then we have a really good chance of finishing in this top 5. The only other thing I need to show you is their injury summary. We've had 35 injuries so far. It's been mental, some of these injuries. It really has. It seems to all happen in one go. We've only got Hinshelwood and Telalovic out at the moment. But Ainsley Pearce, like I say, he's the only major one that he broke his hand, he was out for 5 weeks. One person that does frustrate me, I have to say, is Noni Madueke. So obviously he's on loan from Chelsea. If we look at what he's doing, 17 games, 16 goal contributions and 2 Player of the Match awards at 7.32 in the league. That's pretty much all he does play. He played, I think he came off the bench in the Carabao Cup. He's featured in the Europa League from the bench and from the start. But yeah, that there, 16 goal contributions for 17 appearances. He has been really good. And when you look at just that, you think that 48 million optional fee we got, we'd be mad not to execute that. Then you look at his medical report and he gets a lot of injuries. I mean, there's only 3 here and they're only for 2 days, 2 days and 6 days. But yeah, he can be quite frustrating with the injuries that he gets. Another one as well is Lewis Travis. If we look at him, he's a backup central midfielder. And since the start of the season here, he's had 5 injuries. Yeah, 5 injuries since the start. So he's had it's mainly his ankle. He's had a bruised ankle, a twisted ankle, a bruised shin, a bruised knee, a tight calf. Again, with the exception of the twisted ankle that kept him out for 4 weeks, they're not keeping him out for long. But it's quite frustrating when, at the moment, we've got Jack Hinshelwood injured and we can't bring him in because he's picked up an injury. It just gets so frustrating with him. And then there's the fact that he's already had he's not had a record. No, he's had 5 yellow cards in the league. So he's had a suspension for that. And last season, obviously, I'm pretty sure his disciplinary record was poor. Yeah, he had 12 yellow cards and 2 red cards in all competitions last season. So that is a downside to Lewis Travis, is his injuries. In terms of Archie Brown, who was a revelation for us last season with 5 goals and 8 assists, he's not been as prolific this season. He's only had 3 goal contributions in 19 games, but he's still averaging basically a 7, so he's been pretty decent as well. And that obviously, that's just the Premier League. If we actually look at what he's done in other competitions, he's got 4 assists in Europe in 6 games, so he is pretty decent, I suppose. Looking back at the tactics, Callum Wilson, like I say, free transfer, 12 goals in 19 appearances in the league, 14 goal contributions. He's been brilliant. As a free transfer, we cannot argue with what he's done. Harry Leonard, who has been out injured for a little while at the moment, he's kind of lost the potential that he had, but he's not scored in the league in 14 appearances, but bear in mind 10 of those have been substitute appearances, but he has got 8 goals and an assist in 6 games in Europe. So, yeah, I just think for next season, Callum Wilson will probably go. We'll probably need to let Harry Leonard go as well. We just need to get into new strikers, basically. And, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to bring you. I think we've got a little bit long for part 2 for what we normally do, but there has been quite a bit going on. But I'll join you in part 3 to see whether we can finish in the top 5 of the Premier League. Will we have the takeover go through? And can we win the Conference League? Oh, what a season. It has been amazing. We finished 5th in the Premier League. And I did say at the beginning of this episode that I would like to get a top 5 finish. As you can see by the fact we were on 75 points, we were only actually 6 points off Chelsea at the top. And I'll show you the previous league positions in a moment, because I actually think fifth is a bit unlucky for us, really. In the end, we lost too many games. We conceded too many goals. I mean, we conceded 44 goals. You have to go down as far as West Ham in eighth to get a team that's conceded more goals than us. That is definitely our Achilles heel, is the goals conceded. In terms of goals scored, we're actually pretty okay. We're fifth in the goals conceded. But yeah, like I say, in goals scored. In terms of goals conceded, we're all the way down here, seventh. So not great defensively, which I will work on in the summer. I want to come up with a new tactic, one that we're still good going forward with, but yeah, that we are just better defensively, because I think we're going to need that if we're going to break into here, and more importantly, within the next 2 seasons to come, if we're actually going to win the Premier League and succeed in our overall mission. However, at the moment, we're only Europa League qualifiers. According to the coefficient table, England were top of the coefficient table, so if that remains the same, or in the top 2 at least, then we will qualify for the Champions League. We'll get a sneaky little Champions League place. Now, what I do want to show you is how we've done in the other competitions, because this is what has made it a really good season, but we've just fallen short of it being a quite exceptional season. The Europa Conference League runners up. We lost to Eintracht Frankfurt in the final. Let's go and have a look at it. We'll show you our path through the knockout stages. We had, in the round of 16, we had Basel. We won 7-3 on aggregate in the round of 16. In the quarterfinals, we got drawn against Fenerbahce. Quite a tight game, this one. We actually got through 3-1 in the end in that one. And then in the semi-final, we had Toulouse. Again, another tight game that we got through 3-1 on aggregate in that one as well. And then we played Eintracht Frankfurt in the final, losing 1-0. And, you know, when you actually look at the stats for the game, Eintracht Frankfurt, they did deserve to win it, let's be quite honest. They were the better team, but the fact they scored their winner in the 94th minute of the game, that was just heartbreaking. It really was. Really, really heartbreaking. But the FA Cup, we won it. We have won the FA Cup. We beat Tottenham in the final. If we have a look at our path through the FA Cup, we had Burnley in the third round, which we won 2-0. Then in the fourth round, we got drawn against Norwich of the Premier League and won 3-2. In the fifth round, we then won after extra time against Charlton Athletic 2-1 away from home. Then in the quarterfinals, we again after extra time against Hull, we won 2-1. Then in the semi-final, we got Leicester and won 3-2. So our pathway through from the third round to the final was actually a pretty decent, kind pathway. We were able to rest a lot of players and play a lot of our backup players and whatever else. And we eventually got through to the final where we beat Tottenham 1-0. And again, you look at the stats, it was a very, very even game in terms of shots on target, in terms of possession. Their XG was better than ours, significantly better than ours, in fact. But Archie Brown, who's actually our top goal scorer in the FA Cup, thanks to an assist from Noni Madueke after 33 minutes, was enough to give us the win in that game and bring the FA Cup to Blackburn Rovers. And that is a great day for the club. Obviously, the Carabao Cup, we got knocked out in the third round. If we have a look at the Premier League, and like I say, we finished fifth, we didn't have anybody in any of the top of things. If we look at who was the top goal scorers in the competition, we did have Callum Wilson, who finished fourth with 19 league goals. He is retiring at the end of this season, so he won't be here for next season. We also had Noni Madueke, who was 13th with 12 league goals from 31 appearances. What's worth looking at is obviously we do have the option of an extension to his contract, or the option to buy him rather, and he can play anywhere across that front three. As I said before, he looks a decent player. His stats have been pretty good for us this season as well. in terms of the league, 21 goal contributions from 31 games. In all competitions, he's made 50 appearances for us, and he's made 32 goal contributions with 2 Player of the Match awards. He has been a really good player, and we do have that option, the optional future fee of 48 million. The problem we're going to have is that is going to take pretty much all of our transfer budget, and I don't know if I'm prepared to spend that amount of money on one player. If we have a look at our finances, we've got a transfer budget of 62 million for next season, and our wage budget is 1.5 million. We've got about 260,000 in the wage budget to spend. If we have a look at our squad in terms of players that are going to be leaving this summer, obviously Callum Wilson's going to be retiring, Tronstad will be leaving, Televic will be leaving, Madueke will be leaving. We're going to need to obviously reinvest in the squad again, but I think we need to be looking for bargains again. We need to be looking for cheap players that at the same time add to what we've got, because there are players here like Scott Wharton, who's been out on loan. Ryan Hedges is nothing more than a utility player. Jake Garrett the same. Dominic Bieniek, I don't think he's really ever going to become what we need him to. You look down further, I mean, Lewis Travis is a good backup option, but he's not great. Hayden Carter, Ben Rahu is good, but he's not great. There's players there that we, filter it by ability, and once you get to about here, you're kind of looking at, we really need to be replacing. There's no guarantee we're going to be keeping James Garner. There's been a lot of interest in him, and look at all that interest in the transfer for him. Arsenal, Bayern, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, all have active interest in him. Like with Arsenal looking to increase their homegrown quota. The others are unwilling to make an offer while the transfer window's closed, but that's obviously going to be open pretty soon. And yeah, I just think that we could be in trouble with James Garner, and that's going to be a massive loss. Jack Hinshelwood is still here, but again, if we look at him, I'm pretty certain he's got a minimum fee release clause. Yes, he does. £49 million for clubs that are in the Champions League. Lorenzo Parola, if we look at him, minimum fee release clause of £91 million for clubs in the Champions League. Archie Brown, I don't think there's a release clause for him. Only a relegation one, that's fine. We're not in any trouble with that. Nicola Cavlina, don't think that... Oh, there is one for him, 27 million for him. And he's had a really good season as well, by the way. If we look at him, 13 clean sheets in 38 appearances. Yes, he's conceded 44 goals, but he has had an average rating of 7.01. He has definitely been the upgrade that we've needed. Right, what we'll do now is we'll go forward for the end of season review, and we'll have a look at that. Okay, end of season review is here, and we have a little trophy there as well. It's worth noting that in 3 seasons we've won the Sky Bet Championship and now an FA Cup, so that's 2 trophies in 3 seasons. I did also, I think I might have said it in a previous part about a job offer from Newcastle United. Now, the new arrivals, let's have a look at our signings. So Noni Madueke has been given a C by the board. 1.5 million we paid to have him on loan. We already know what he's done. We've already been through it. Same with Cavlina. We've been through what he's done. And he was only 4 million as well. He's actually been given the star signing by the looks of it. I don't necessarily disagree with that because he's a permanent signing. Lorenzo Parola for 50 million. We did pay a lot of money for him. The board are very happy with that. 58 appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist, 7.03. He was a rock for us. He was one of the good defenders that we've actually had. Callum Wilson, I mean, for me, he's probably the sign of the season. A free transfer from Newcastle, 52 appearances, 24 goals, 5 assists at 6.95. To me, the fact that he's a free transfer and only costing us about £50,000 a week in wages, that was just, for me, that was sign of the season. 54 million for Jack Hinshelwood, 21-year-old defensive midfielder from Brighton, 51 appearances, no goals in the league for us, 3 assists, 6.90. He was good as well. Really enjoyed having him in a team. And he's only going to get better and better as the seasons go on. Brandon Williams, who actually started a lot more than what I thought he would. He actually made 52 appearances for us, an average rate of 6.90. He has actually improved in his attributes and star rating as well. For 2.3 million, again, that's another bargain. And these are the kind of signings we need to make more of this summer. Mateus Moreno, again, we need another signing like this would be great. 50 appearances, 3 goals, 2 assists at 6.86. Him and Parola getting 4 goals between them as centre-backs. If we have a look at the transfers out, not really much by way of money coming in. If it's Callum Britton, we got 11.75 million for him. He's gone to Calgary. He's made 36 appearances, 1 goal, no assists at 6.85. He's had a pretty good season with Calgary, I'd say. Dylan McCandy is Celtic B, so he's not really done a great deal. Sam Gallagher has made 43 appearances for Dundee United. Leopold has gone to Udinese, played a couple of games for them. We got 2 million for James Edmondson, but yeah, other than that, it is what it is. And the loans, I mean, they're here. Pause it and have a look if you would like. Season to remember, and it really was a season to remember as well. Our average home attendance is 99%, by the way. It might be worth asking if the club would like to expand the stadium, because we are filling out Ewood Park without a shadow of a doubt. Avoid relegation from the Premier Division was the expectation. We finished 5th, which is what I wanted. So we hit expectations in that respect. Callum Wilson, top goal scorer. Oh, never. Let's go back. Europa Conference League. This is who we played. We won every single game until we got to the final against Eintracht Frankfurt. Again, 99% home attendance. Harry Leonard, Sammy Smodics with 11 goals each were our top scorers in that competition. The FA Cup that we won, Archie Brown top scorer, as I said before. We already know who we've played. Carabao Cup was what the Carabao Cup is. Moments to remember, our biggest win was a 6-1 win against Brøndby. Match to remember was a 3-2 win in the Premier League at Anfield against Liverpool. That was a moment as well. And the goal of the season was Ben Rahu in a 6-1 win against Brøndby. Lovely goal from Rovers. Right winger Ben Rahu as he scores a thunderous free kick from 26 metres. I don't see many free kicks, like direct free kicks, going in FM this season. Then we get to the finances. I mean, I'm imagining we are going to be given a bit of a boost in our reputation. No new sponsorship deals. But sponsorship has gone up significantly. That's going to be through being in Europe. Broadcast revenue has gone down by 4 million, which I'm not really sure how when we've got the added broadcast revenue of Europe in it, but it is what it is. Corporate and hospitality, slight increase. A real increase in competition prize money. Again, that will be because of the European side of it. And the fact we're in Champions League potentially next season, that all of this should go up massively as well. Matchday commercial and retail has had a slight increase as well. In terms of their shirt sales, Garner sells the most, and like I say, probably going to be losing him. Wilson is in there and he's going to be retiring. Smodics, Parola and Dolan are also in that list. How we lined up, I mean, we've got 2, 4, 6 players that are a 7.01 and above. And yeah, their team, Cavlina, Brown, Aguirre, Moreno, Parola, Hinshelwood, Garner, Dolan, Smodics, Madueke and Wilson. Can't really argue with that. In terms of who I want to replace and improve in here, obviously we need a new striker. We need another right winger. I want to replace Aguirre, because even though we've got him and Brandon Williams that can play there, and also Hayden Carter, you know, Brown is top quality down this left-hand side, but I really do feel we need someone better than Aguirre on this right-hand side. Other than that, it's then a case of if someone improves us, then we bring them in. Sammy Smodics is just a legend, I think, at this point in time in the club. In terms of the accolades, I've won Manager of the Month awards on 3 occasions, October and April. And I won the Northwest Football Awards Manager of the Season. If anyone knows what the Northwest awards are, player awards and manager awards, let me know in the comments, because I quite often see, if I had to vote, who would I pick for the Northwest whatever award. And I'm just like, I have no idea what this award is. So I don't know if it's just called something else in real life or what, or if it is just literally something that only applies to clubs in the northwest of England. In terms of the player awards, Archie Brown has got the Fans Player of the Season. Again, he's been fantastic again this season. Young Player of the Season is Archie Brown as well. Sign of the Season is Cavlina. Goal of the Season, as we know, is Ben Rahu. Top goal scorer is Callum Wilson. Most assists is Noni Madueke. Most player of the match awards is Sammy Smodics. Highest average rating is Archie Brown. And most passes completed per 90 minutes is Lorenzo Parola. In terms of record breaks, there's been a few of those this season. Callum Wilson holds the record for the most goals in a season by a player for 24. Most assists by a player in the season, that record is now Noni Madueke. Most clean sheets by a player in the season, that is now Nicola Cavallina. And the highest transfer fee paid is Jack Hinchelwood for 37 million. So it's been quite a record-breaking season. For some reason, they're highlighting our FA Cup. Oh, it's because we won the FA Cup, so they're highlighting where we started there. Blackburn flew out the traps and set themselves up for this impressive campaign. And it has been an impressive campaign, and the manager timeline is what it is. If we have a quick look through some of these, got players here that we can have a look at. I mean, Nathan Patterson is well out of our price range, to be quite honest. He's right back. I mean, he's a kind of right back that I would be looking for. He's 4 stars. He looks really decent as well, but he is a bit out of our price range. I'll go for all of that off screen. Then we've got players inducted into the best 11. So best 11 is that at the moment. Pause it and have a look at it if you would like. Season preview, support profile. So hardcore is down to 9%. The core is up to 36%. The family is down to 19%. And the fair weather is up to 17%. Corporate 2 and casual 17. 1 million. We've hit the 1 million followers mark on social media. How important is that? Is that the Steam signal on there? Because it's not like X or Facebook or Reddit or anything like that, I don't believe. We've gone up by 110.9 thousand. These are how many season ticket holders we have and how many are on the waiting list. And they want us to finish above Burnley in the league when we're in a different league. So, yeah. Club vision and expectation. By the way, the takeover never happened. Talks broke down between that chap and our board. There is talk of an internal takeover, but yeah, it is what it is. Everything is looking really good on here. They're delighted and pleased with everything. We're working within the wage budget now that they've raised it, because we were at one point about £100,000 under it. Be competitive in the Europa League. They want us to do that. Finish in mid-table in the Premier Division. And then plans will be set when the club ownership is resolved, showing that that is still an ongoing issue. One thing I do want to do is I do want to have a look at James Garner. He might not want to do it now because there's clubs interested in him. But yeah, he's not interested. Just want to see if we could. Mainly, I just want to get that minimum fee release clause raised because it's a bit of a pathetic one, quite honestly. But yeah, end of season team meeting. I mean, I hate doing these. We want to finish mid-table. Just remember that. Premier Division aims for next season. Fully vested mid-table finish. They should be happy with that. Yes, they are. Brilliant. Let's get out of here because I don't like saying too much because I will upset you at some point. New season report, blah, blah, blah. Here's our injury thing. And the first recognisable name we have on here is Telalovic with 16% of the season out injured. Noni Madueke with 12%. Lewis Travis with 10%. Ainsley Pearce obviously had that one big injury. Ben Rahu, 3 injuries. Sammy Smodics has had 6, but it's only 7%. It is what it is. You're always going to get injuries. Right, where are we going to go for pre-season? Do you know what? Let's go to America. I think we went to Austria or somewhere last season. We'll go to America this time. We'll give them a bit of a treat. Go see the Big Apple and all that sort of stuff. If you're from America, by the way, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know that. We've declared interest in this chap, Samuel Vignato, 22-year-old attacking midfielder. I mean, we need someone on the right. 17.5 million. I mean, it's got potential, let's be honest. He has got the potential. And I would like him as a winger, which he can play out. Do you know what? He might actually be the person to replace Noni Madueke. He runs with the ball down the right. Well, that's quite handy. It's on the play on the right. So, yeah, that is actually a possibility. And I think what I will do is ask the agent about his availability. Doesn't look like he wants a minimum fee release clause, which is awesome. So, make an offer for 17 million. And it looks like you've just had a sneak preview of who we're going to be signing for our right-hand side at the start of the new season. Right, I think that's probably about it. I don't think there's anything else I need to show you. Dynamics is what Dynamics is. It's all excellent. Finances, you already know about that side of it. We have 61 million in the bank as well. And yeah, that is it. Please leave a like on the video, folks. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll be back next Sunday at 2 p.m. for episode 4, season 4, where we need to try and challenge for the Premier League title. And we're going to have a Champions League run. I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.